I can make one up too.
If you want to make one up, that's cool.
Okay, so let's make up a complete the square. Okay, so solve by completing the square. Okay, so let's say we have 2w plus 2w squared plus 4w is 3. Okay, I made this up. Full disclaimer, not sure it's going to work. We'll try anyway. We can at the very least get complex solutions, right? Which we might. Okay? So, how do I start completing the square? Okay, I need the lead coefficient to be 1. So I have to divide by 2. So I apply the divide by 2 function or the multiply by a half function, right? Either or. I get w squared plus 4w is
3 halves.
Thank you. Divide the 4 by 2 as well. Remember to distribute. Okay, is 3 halves. We have PS reached the point where my bad arithmetic is going to show through, so please do catch me. You guys are now good enough at arithmetic to catch me. All right, now what?
2 over 2 square root of 2.
Okay, so
Which is 1.
now I need to think to myself, all right, I'm going to say, all right, I take my left-hand side, I add a blank, right? On the right-hand side, I add the same blank. And then I have to think to myself, okay, I would like to make this thing, right, into some kind of w plus something squared, right? Okay, so how do I fill in that spot there? What do I do? Divide by 2, multiply by a half, right?
And then square it.
So I get
1.
1 here, and then to get this one, I square. So when I square 1, what do I get? 1. What do I get on the right-hand side?
Nothing.
Okay, remember, right? I added 1 to this. I just changed things, right? So I have to add 1 to the other side. Remember, those 2 blanks go together. Yeah?
I tried to do that in MATLAB and just this morning, and the answers were not even adding up. They were keeping the same.
So my guess is that the issue is the simplification on this side.
Yeah, but in the answer book, they didn't do that. They didn't
I
do
don't-
that step.
I don't know what you mean they didn't do this step. They did this step in one form or other.
Can I show you? I'll just show you.
Yeah, show me afterwards. I'll find it for you, but they did this step somewhere.
Okay.
I like this kind of diagram, but this is my diagram. This isn't quite the diagram your book uses.
Okay.
So the reason I like this diagram is there's this like, okay, there's a clear relationship between this thing and this thing. It's divide by 2, right? And there's a pretty clear relationship between this thing and these guys. And the reason I like to add the blank is just to remind you to add this thing to both sides. If you don't add it to both sides, it doesn't work.
So I thought in Algebra 1 taught that you can't do something on one side and not carry it over. But
Yep. So it's possible the book does +1 and -1. It's the same thing. They're just adding 0 to one side. I'm adding 1 to both sides. That works out, right? Balance is maintained either way. Okay, so let's see. I got this for my left-hand side. What's my right-hand side? 5 over 2. Okay, so I find out that w plus 1 squared is 5 halves. Where'd you get 5 halves?
I added 3 over 2 into 1.
Yeah.
And made 1 2 over 2.
You guys see that? We said 1, well, 1 and 3 halves don't go together really well, right? So I'm going to take my one thing, I'm going to cut it in halves. How many halves do I get out of cutting one thing up?
2 over 2.
I get 2. Alternatively, I could think about multiplying my 1 by 2 over 2, right? Either way, those are the same thing. And then I said, okay, if I have 3 halves and I add 2 halves to that, I get a total of 5 halves. Okay, so I'm here. This is the step at which completing the square is done. You guys see that? Okay, what do I do after I've completed the square?
Take it out.
Yeah, now I need to solve, right? So this is the extraction of roots thing, right? So if I'm going to extract the roots from this, what do I do? Okay, square up both sides. So I get w plus 1 equals what?
Square root of 5 over 2.
Yeah? No.
No?
What'd you lose? Plus or minus? So there's a lot of things to remember. I shouldn't say there's not so many things to remember. There are a ton of things to remember. But one of the big ones, right, is this plus or minus and distributing. Those are going to be, I think, your biggest source of errors. Cool? Try to avoid those if you can. They're not super hard to avoid. You just have to think to yourself, okay, when I square it, I get a plus or minus every time.
And what is this one called? The W on this one? What is that step called?
Oh, this is just unsquaring both sides. This is extraction of roots that I'm doing. Yeah. No. No. No, we're never going to have multiple choice. They're fill in the blanks. Is that close? There may be multiple choice or matching next time, but there is not this time. All right, so this whole business that I'm doing is extraction of roots. How do I finish this whole business?
Try to get the minus.
Yeah, I want to get the w by itself, so I apply the subtract 1 function. Right, this was the square root kind of idea. Really, plus or minus. All right, so I subtract 1, I get w is what?
Negative 1. Plus or minus square root of 5.
Okay.
Yeah, then minus 1. I mean, don't you want 2 solutions, or it's just only one?
There are 2 solutions. Where are they? Yeah, they're in the plus or minus, right? So, what's my w? W is
Negative 1 plus the square root of 5 over 2, or negative 1 minus the square root of 5 over 2.
perfect. Your book will not give you quite this answer. What does your book do?
They make a mess.
Yeah, they rationalize the bottoms of these. I don't care if you guys do that. That's a technique from back in the day before calculators.
Does that make it square root of 10 on top? Because we square times it by the bottom?
Yeah, we'd multiply by
The regular 2 square root?
Yeah, so the way we'd do that is we'd multiply by square root of 2 on the top and square root of 2 on the bottom. Sorry, I said those backwards. Square root of 2 on the top, square root of 2 on the bottom. The square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is 2. And on the top I'll have the square root of 5 times the square root of 2. I don't care if you guys do that stuff. That's a thing from back in the day when we had to compare things by hand before there were calculators. All right. Other questions? You guys got more? Yeah.
I have one, it's the negative